The night was cold on Colony 9. The rain fell like metal dust, washing the dirt from the streets, but not the pain from the people. The city lights flickered in the distance, neon blue and pink, glowing against the endless darkness. Ships passed overhead, their engines leaving long trails of smoke across the sky. In a narrow corner of the trade market, a young alien girl stood alone. Her name was Lyra. Her skin was pale silver, almost glowing under the lights, and her long, shining hair reached down to her waist. It looked like threads of pure moonlight, but tonight her beauty was not a gift. It was her only hope. She held a small bundle of her own cut hair in her hands. The strands sparkled softly in the rain. Her eyes, bright violet, and were red from crying. She stood beside a stall where traders bought strange items from travelers. Crystals, metals, alien spices, and sometimes hair. "Please," she said softly to the trader. "It's real. It's from the Sylvani people. It's worth more than the price I'm asking." The trader barely looked at her. "No one wants alien hair," he muttered. "Go away." Lyra's heart sank. She stepped back into the rain, shivering. Her clothes were thin and her feet were bare. She had walked all day through the city, asking, begging, offering her hair to anyone who would listen, but no one cared. Some humans laughed at her. Some ignored her completely. Others gave her cruel looks, the kind that said she didn't belong here. Lyra didn't care about pride anymore. She only cared about her little brother. Ren was waiting for her in a broken shelter outside the city. He was only 8 years old, too young to suffer the way he did. His small body burned with fever. His breathing was weak. The alien disease spreading through his blood could only be stopped by human medicine, but that medicine was expensive. She had nothing left to sell. Nothing except her hair, the one thing that made her special. She walked to another stall and tried again. "Please," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't want money. I just need 1 vial of human medicine. My brother is dying." The man behind the stall looked at her for a moment, then turned away. "Get lost," he said coldly. "We don't trade with your kind." Lyra's lips trembled. She whispered, "Please," but her voice was lost in the noise of the market. The rain fell harder now. She stood under a broken sign, hugging the small bundle of silver hair to her chest. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. The lights of the market blurred through her tears. That's when he saw her. From across the street, a tall human man in a dark coat was watching. His name was Dr. Mason. He was a medical officer at the human clinic nearby. He had seen poor children before, seen alien refugees beg for food. But this girl was different. Her eyes told a story of love and despair he couldn't ignore. He saw her try one last time to sell the hair, saw the rejection, and then saw her fall to her knees in the rain, whispering, "Ren, I'm sorry." Before he knew it, Mason was moving. He crossed the street quickly, his boots splashing through puddles. "Hey," he started. But before he could finish, Lyra collapsed completely. Her body hit the wet ground, the silver strands of her hair spreading like light on the pavement. Mason dropped to his knees beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" No answer, only the rain. He lifted her gently into his arms. She was light, too light. Her skin was cold, her pulse weak. "She's just a kid," he whispered to himself. "What's happening here?" As he carried her toward his clinic, the streets around them grew quiet. For a moment it felt like the whole city was holding its breath. Mason didn't know it yet, but this one act in saving a dying alien girl would change everything he believed about humanity. And somewhere, far beyond the clouds, something watched them both, waiting. The rain had stopped by the time Dr. Mason reached his small clinic at the edge of the human sector. The streets were quiet now. Only the sound of the wind moved through the narrow alleys, carrying the smell of wet metal and smoke. Inside, the lights flickered weakly. The clinic wasn't much. 2 rooms, 1 broken heater, and a wall filled with empty medicine bottles. Mason laid the unconscious alien girl carefully on the bed. Her silver hair shimmered even in the dim light. He took off his coat and covered her shoulders. Her body was ice cold. He placed 2 fingers on her wrist, and her pulse was slow but still there. "Hang in there, kid," he murmured. "You're safe now." He turned on the scanner, a small round device that hummed softly. A faint blue light passed over her body. Mason's eyes widened at the readings. Her blood was mixed. Not fully alien, not fully human. Her DNA looked unstable, almost glowing on the screen. "What are you?" he whispered, confused. He ran a few more scans, then noticed the small bundle she was still clutching tightly. Strands of silver hair. Even while unconscious, her fingers wouldn't let go. Mason sighed. He had seen poor alien refugees before, people desperate to survive, but this girl, there was something different. Something pure. After a few hours, her breathing steadied. When she finally opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was the soft white ceiling and the human doctor sitting beside her with a datapad in hand. "Hey," Mason said gently. "You're awake." Lyra blinked, confused. Then panic rushed through her eyes. She tried to sit up fast, pulling away from him. "Where am I?" she gasped. "Why am I here?" "You fainted," he explained calmly. "You were freezing in the rain. I brought you here." She looked around. The machines, the glowing human signs, the smell of antiseptic. Her chest tightened with fear. "You shouldn't have," she whispered. "If they find me here, they'll hurt you." Mason frowned. "Who will?" "Your people," she said bitterly. "Humans, you're not supposed to help us. It's against your law." He hesitated. She was right. Human doctors weren't allowed to treat alien species without permission from the government. But he couldn't just leave her there to die. "Look," he said softly, "I don't care about the law. I care about saving lives. You're one of them." Her eyes softened for a moment, but then filled with pain again. "You can't help me. My brother. He's sick. He needs human medicine. I tried to buy it, but no one would sell it to me." Mason sat forward. "What kind of sickness?" She took a shaky breath. "It started 3 nights ago. His skin burns with fever. His veins glow blue. He can't move anymore. I thought if I sold my hair, I could buy the cure." Her voice cracked. A tear slid down her cheek. Mason stayed silent for a moment, staring at the scanner results again. Those glowing veins. He'd seen something like that once, long ago, in a classified medical report. "Where is he?" Mason asked finally. "Outside the city," she whispered. "In the old shipyard ruins. Please don't tell anyone. If the guards find him, they'll take him away." Mason stood up, grabbed his medical bag, and looked at her seriously. "Then we'll go to him. Right now." Her eyes widened. "You'd really do that for me?" "For your brother," Mason said. "No one deserves to die alone." Lyra stared at him, unsure whether to believe him. No human had ever spoken to her like that. Not since her parents were taken away years ago. Slowly, she nodded. "All right. But if they catch you helping us, they'll take your license. Maybe your life." Mason smiled faintly. "Then we better not get caught." He handed her a coat and turned off the clinic lights. Together, they stepped into the cold night again. A human doctor and an alien girl, walking through the silent city toward danger. Neither of them knew that their every move was already being watched. Somewhere high above the clouds, a satellite camera adjusted its focus, following them. A cold mechanical voice whispered through the static. "Unauthorized human-alien contact detected." The night wind was sharp as blades. Dr. Mason and Lyra moved through the quiet streets, their footsteps splashing through puddles. The human city lights faded behind them, replaced by the shadow of broken towers and old ships half buried in dust. This was the old shipyard, a graveyard of metal giants, long forgotten after the war. Lyra led the way, her small lamp glowing faintly blue in her trembling hands. She looked tired, but her eyes burned with determination. "He's just ahead," she whispered. Mason followed, his bag of medical tools clinking softly at his side. Every sound felt too loud, too dangerous. If the patrols found them out here, he could lose everything. His job, his freedom, maybe even his life. But he didn't care anymore. Something about that girl's courage had already changed him. They reached a broken cargo ship at the edge of the ruins. The door creaked open, revealing a small room lit by the weak flicker of a power cell. On a pile of blankets lay a young boy, Ren. He couldn't have been older than 8. His skin was pale and his veins glowed faintly blue under the skin, pulsing like small rivers of light. His breathing was shallow. His hands twitched weakly as if fighting an invisible pain. "Ren." Lyra dropped to her knees beside him. She touched his forehead. "It's me. I'm here." The boy's lips moved slightly. "Lyra, you came back." "I told you I would," she whispered, tears in her voice. "I found someone who can help." Mason knelt beside the boy and opened his scanner. The device beeped and projected data into the air. The readings made his eyes widen. "What is this?" he murmured. His cells are changing. Changing? Lyra asked, terrified. His blood isn't just sick, Mason said quietly. It's transforming. It's like his body is trying to fight the disease by itself, rewriting his DNA. That's impossible, Lyra whispered. He's just a child. Mason took a deep breath. Not impossible, just unknown. He opened a small vial from his bag. This is human medicine, he said. It's experimental. It might stop the infection and or make it worse. Lyra looked at him, fear in her eyes. What do we do? Mason hesitated. If we wait too long, he'll die. But if I inject this, I don't know what will happen. She held Ren's small hand. Do it, she said, please. I'll take the risk. Mason nodded. He cleaned Ren's arm and injected the glowing blue liquid. The boy's body tensed instantly. His back arched and he screamed, a sharp, echoing sound that made Lyra grab his shoulders. Ren! Ren, please! She cried. The light in his veins spread faster, running up his neck, across his face, down to his fingers. Mason watched, frozen between horror and awe. Then, silence. The boy stopped moving. His chest was still. The scanner went flat. No, Lyra whispered. No, no, no. Mason pressed his fingers to Ren's neck. No pulse. His hand shook. I'm sorry. Lyra fell forward sobbing, holding her brother close. But just as Mason lowered his head, the scanner flickered. A new signal. A heartbeat, then another, stronger. Ren gasped suddenly, eyes flying open, wing glowing bright silver. The air around him pulsed like a wave. The broken lamps flickered to life one by one, glowing brighter and brighter until the whole room shone. Lyra froze. Ren? The boy sat up slowly. His voice was calm, almost echoing. Sister, it doesn't hurt anymore. Mason stepped back, shocked. His instruments were going crazy. This isn't normal. His DNA is rewriting itself, faster than anything I've ever seen. Ren turned his glowing eyes toward Mason. You helped me, he said softly. Thank you, human. Before Mason could reply, a metallic click echoed outside the ship. He froze. Lyra's ears twitched. Through the cracks in the wall, red lights appeared. Scanning beams. Human patrol drones. They had been tracked. Mason whispered, They found us. Lyra grabbed her brother's hand. We have to run. Ren looked at the door. His eyes glowed brighter, and the metal locks began to melt. Mason stared in disbelief. What did that medicine do to him? Ren's voice was quiet but powerful. It didn't change me, Doctor. It woke me up. Outside, the drones closed in, red lights flashing through the darkness. Mason felt the ground tremble. Something big was coming, and it was hunting them all. The night air was alive with danger. Red lights swept across the ruined shipyard, cutting through the fog like burning knives. The sound of metal wings echoed above as the patrol drones closed in, cold. Heartless machines programmed to find any human breaking alien contact laws. Inside the wrecked cargo ship, Dr. Mason, Lyra, and Ren crouched behind a metal crate. The boy's silver glowing eyes reflected the flashing lights outside. They're here, Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. Mason's heart pounded in his chest. He knew what would happen if they were caught. He'd be arrested for treason, stripped of his license, maybe executed. But when he looked at the terrified siblings beside him, fear turned into resolve. We can't stay here, he said quietly. We move now. Ren's voice was calm but strange, and older, wiser. I can stop them, he said. Mason frowned. No, you're just a child. Ren shook his head. Not anymore. Before Mason could stop him, Ren stood. His hands glowed with faint silver energy. The air around him vibrated softly, and for a moment the machines outside froze mid-air, their red lights flickering. Lyra gasped. Ren, what are you doing? Ren's eyes shone brighter. Protecting you, but the power was too much. He screamed, collapsing to his knees as sparks shot from his fingers. The drones reactivated instantly and fired a volley of stun blasts through the broken wall. Mason grabbed Lyra and pulled her down, shielding her with his body as metal shrapnel flew past. We have to go, he shouted. He lifted Ren, who was barely conscious, and ran toward the back exit. The door was half sealed with rust, but Mason kicked it open. The three of them stumbled into the cold darkness of the junkyard. The alarms blared behind them. Unauthorized contact detected. Human subject Dr. Mason Cole, arrest order confirmed. Lyra's heart ached. They're coming for you, Because of us. Mason didn't answer. He just kept running. By the time they reached the city's lower tunnels, his lungs were burning. He laid Ren down beside a cracked pipe where warm steam hissed out. He needs rest, Mason said. And I need to think. Lyra looked at him. Rain dripping from her hair, eyes full of guilt. You shouldn't have helped me. Now you'll lose everything. He met her gaze. If I walked past you that night, I'd have lost something far worse, my humanity. Lyra froze. She didn't know what to say. No human had ever spoken like that. For a long moment they sat in silence, the sound of the rain mixing with the distant hum of the city. Then Mason's communicator beeped. He pulled it from his pocket. The screen flashed with a message. Dr. Mason Cole, report to the Central Authority. You are under investigation for illegal alien activity. He turned it off immediately, jaw tight. They already know. Lyra looked away. You can still save yourself. Leave us. No one has to know. Mason shook his head. No, you and your brother deserve a chance. If they catch you, they'll turn him into a weapon. I can't let that happen. She stared at him, tears welling in her eyes. Why do you care so much? Humans never cared before. Mason hesitated. Because once long ago I watched a child die and I did nothing. I promised I'd never let it happen again. A faint smile touched her lips, sad and grateful. Then thank you. Suddenly the tunnel lights above flickered. A shadow moved near the entrance. Heavy footsteps echoed closer. Not drones this time. Human enforcers, Mason whispered. Hide him. Lyra pulled Ren close under the pipes as Mason stepped forward, raising his hands. 2 armored officers appeared, their helmets glowing red. Dr. Mason Cole, one said coldly. You're under arrest for aiding alien fugitives. Mason stayed calm. There are no fugitives here. The officer scanned the area. Don't lie. The signal came from this tunnel. For a moment, the world went still. Then Ren's soft voice broke the silence. Sister! The officers turned their heads toward the sound. Lyra's heart stopped. Mason acted fast. He grabbed a smoke canister from his belt and threw it to the ground. The tunnel filled with white fog. He shouted, Run! Lyra held Ren's hand and ran as fast as she could. The fog swallowed them. Mason followed, coughing, his heart racing. Behind them, the enforcers shouted orders into their radios. Target fleeing east! Send reinforcements! As they escaped through a maintenance door, Mason looked back one last time at the fog-filled tunnel. He knew there was no going back now. Helping them wasn't just kindness anymore. It was rebellion. And as he ran into the night, he realized something else. He didn't regret it. Not for a second. The storm had moved to the edge of the city, but thunder still rolled across the skies like the sound of marching soldiers. Deep underground, inside a forgotten maintenance chamber, Dr. Mason worked under the pale glow of a flickering lamp. His table was covered with shattered vials, wires, and pieces of alien tech. The smell of medicine and ozone filled the air. Lyra sat nearby, holding her little brother's hand. Ren was awakened but weak. His veins still glowed faintly silver under his skin. Every few minutes, a pulse of light traveled through his body, like energy trying to escape. How much longer? Lyra asked softly. Her voice was trembling with fear and exhaustion. Mason didn't look up. His hands moved quickly, mixing 2 glowing liquids in a glass tube. Not long, he said. But this is risky. If the compound is even slightly unstable, it could kill him. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. You said that before. But without it, he'll die anyway. Mason stopped. He looked at her. This alien girl who had already lost everything except the boy beside her. Her silver hair was messy, her face pale from hunger and worry, but her spirit burned bright. You don't have to do this, Mason said gently. You could still leave. I'll take the blame. You can hide with him somewhere far away. She shook her head. No, I won't leave him. And I won't let him suffer anymore. There was silence for a long moment. Just the hum of the machines and Ren's slow, shallow breathing. Finally, Mason sighed. Then we finish what we started. He took out a small vial filled with a bright silver-blue liquid. The glow danced on the walls like light underwater. This, he said, is the hybrid cure. I combined human nanomedicine with your brother's altered cells. It might work, or it might destroy his body from the inside. Lyra looked at the vial as if it were a living thing, a promise and a curse in one. What do we do? she whispered. Mason's voice was calm but heavy. You choose. You're his sister. If you tell me to give him the injection, I will. If you say no, I'll stop right now. The room went quiet. Lyra looked down at Ren, who was barely conscious. His eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly silver. Sister, he whispered. Don't cry. She smiled through her tears. I'm not crying, she lied. Ren gave a small smile. You always cry when you're scared. She pressed her forehead to his. You have to stay with me, Ren. You're all I have. He closed his eyes. Then do it. I trust you. Lyra's hands shook as she turned to Mason. Do it. Mason nodded. He filled the syringe slowly, watching the silver-blue light swirl inside like a living storm. Then he placed the needle against Ren's arm. Ren, he said softly, this may hurt. Ren nodded weakly. I'm not afraid. Mason injected the cure. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then Ren's body arched, his eyes snapping open as energy surged through him. The glow under his skin flared brighter and brighter until it lit the entire chamber. Machines sparked. The lamp exploded. Ren! Lyra screamed, grabbing his hand. His skin was burning hot. Mason shielded his face from the light. The scanner on his wrist flashed red. His heart rate is off the charts. The nanites are fighting his DNA. Ren gasped, his voice breaking. It hurts. Lyra held him tighter. Please, hold on, please. Then, silence. The light died all at once. The air was filled with smoke and the smell of burnt metal. Ren's body went limp. Lyra froze. No, she shook him gently. Ren, please. Wake up. Mason checked his pulse, nothing. His expression darkened. I'm sorry, he whispered. Lyra's scream echoed through the tunnels, raw, broken, endless. She fell beside her brother, sobbing into his chest. Mason stepped back, his hands shaking. He had risked everything. His career, his life, and still failed. But just as despair settled in, the scanner on his wrist beeped once. Then again he looked down. The readings were changing, rising. Lyra's tears stopped. She felt something, warmth, spreading from Ren's hand. She looked up. The silver glow was back, brighter than ever. Ren's chest rose sharply with a deep breath. His eyes opened, glowing white now, not silver. Mason stared in disbelief. It's not medicine anymore, he whispered. It's evolution. Ren sat up slowly, breathing hard. He looked at Mason and Lyra, confusion in his eyes. What happened? He asked softly. Lyra sobbed and hugged him tight. You came back, but Mason didn't smile. His scanner was going wild, whatever Ren had become. He wasn't just healed, he was something new. And far above the city, in a dark control room, a human commander watched the live footage from a hidden drone. He leaned closer to the screen and muttered, Target confirmed. The hybrid is alive. The old tunnels shook with thunder, not from the storm above him, but from the machines waking beneath the city. Dr. Mason stood frozen beside the small cot, staring at the boy he thought he had just lost. Ren was alive, but not the same. The silver glow in his eyes had turned pure white, shining like twin suns. His veins no longer pulsed weakly. They moved like living light under his skin. Lyra held her brother tightly, afraid to let go, afraid this was only another dream. Ren, she whispered, voice trembling, can you hear me? He nodded slowly. Yes, but I can hear more than that. Mason frowned. More? Ren tilted his head, eyes unfocused. The city, the machines, the people above us. His voice was calm, strange. I can feel their heartbeat. Lyra pulled back slightly, frightened. Ren, stop. You're scaring me. But Mason's scientific mind was racing. It's the nanites, he said softly. They didn't just heal him. They connected him to something bigger. He's part of the network now. Ren looked at Mason. They're coming, he said. Before Mason could ask who, the tunnel lights flickered. A low hum filled the air, the sound of engines. Then came the voice, cold and mechanical. Unit 14 reporting. Target life signatures detected. Lyra's heart stopped. They found us. Mason grabbed his bag. We need to move. He pulled Ren to his feet, but the boy didn't move. Instead, he stared at the tunnel entrance. The air around him shimmered like heat waves. Ren, what are you doing? Lyra whispered. Protecting you, he said quietly. The first patrol drone appeared in a dark metal sphere with spinning red eyes. It aimed its blasters, the barrels glowing. Before it could fire, Ren raised his hand. The light from his veins flared, and the drone froze mid-air. Its system sparked, glowed white, and then melted. Lyra gasped. Ren, Mason stared in disbelief. He's controlling energy directly. How is that even? But before he could finish, more drones entered the tunnel. A dozen this time. Their red lights painted the walls like blood. Run, Mason shouted. Lyra pulled Ren's arm. Come on. They ran through the narrow tunnels, the walls shaking from explosions behind them, the air filled with the sharp smell of burning metal. Mason coughed, holding his coat over his mouth. Ren stumbled but kept going. Each time a drone fired, he raised his hand, and the energy blast dissolved in mid-air, as if the world itself bent around him. Finally, they burst out of the tunnel into the open air, the lower edge of the city's industrial zone. Towers of steel surrounded them, glowing with pale lights under the storm clouds. Mason leaned against a pipe, out of breath. They won't stop, he said. They'll send more. Lyra looked at him, desperate. Then what do we do? He hesitated. We hide, or we make them see he's not a threat. She laughed bitterly. Humans don't see. They destroy what they fear. Lightning flashed above. Ren stood silently in the rain, his white eyes glowing brighter with every drop that touched his skin. He looked at his hands, trembling, unsure of his own power. I don't want to hurt anyone, he whispered. Mason put a hand on his shoulder. Then don't use it to protect. That's what makes you different, Ren nodded slowly. But before he could speak, a massive explosion rocked the horizon. A bright orange flame rose from the direction of the human medical tower. Mason's face went pale. That's my lab. Lyra turned toward the smoke. They're destroying everything, aren't they? Mason clenched his fists. They're erasing evidence of anyone who helped you. Suddenly, Ren grabbed his sister's arm. His eyes went distant again, glowing like fire. I can see them, he whispered. They have soldiers at the tower. And someone else. Who? Mason asked. Ren's voice grew heavy. A man watching from the command center. He's afraid. He knows what I am. Lyra frowned. What are you? Ren looked up at the storm, his voice calm but powerful. Something they can't control. Lightning struck the nearby tower, sparks raining down like falling stars. Mason looked from the boy to the burning skyline. If we go there, we'll be walking into a war. Lyra wiped the rain from her face. Then we walked together. Ren stepped forward, his glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. They tried to burn hope out of this world, he said softly. Let's show them it still burns. The wind howled through the ruins, carrying the sound of engines and thunder. The three figures, a human, an alien girl, and a glowing child, started walking toward the flames. And far above them, in a dark control tower, the human commander watched the feed and whispered. The city burned under a blood-red sky. Flames climbed the towers like living serpents, and the night was filled with the sound of drones and thunder. Dr. Mason, Lyra, and Ren ran through the smoke-filled streets, heading straight toward the heart of the chaos of the human medical tower. The ground trembled with each explosion, the air thick with static energy. Ren's glowing eyes scanned the skyline. They're waiting for us, he said quietly. I know, Mason replied, gripping his bag tighter. But if we don't reach the control room, they'll wipe every record, every cure, everything that can save people like you. Lyra coughed from the smoke, holding her brother's hand. Then we don't stop. They reached the main gate. It was surrounded by black-armored soldiers, the human enforcement unit. Their weapons gleamed with cold blue light. A voice echoed through the loudspeakers. This is Commander Ryle. The alien subjects and their human accomplice are under arrest. Lay down your weapons and surrender peacefully. Mason looked at the frightened siblings. Do not run, not yet. Let me talk. He stepped forward, raising his hands. Ryle, it's me, Mason. You don't have to do this. The boy's not a threat. Through the smoke, a figure appeared. Tall, sharp-eyed, wearing the insignia of the upper command. Commander Ryle, you disobeyed direct orders, Ryle said coldly. You treated alien hybrids, accessed restricted data, and unleashed an unstable creation. He's not unstable, Mason shouted. He's alive! Ryle's gaze shifted to Ren, whose white eyes glowed like twin stars. Alive, yes, but dangerous. His power can destroy the city. Ren stepped forward, voice calm. I don't want to destroy anything. I just want to live. The commander's expression didn't change. That's not your choice. He raised his hand. Fire. The air filled with the shriek of blasters. Blue light cut through the smoke, but none of it reached them. Ren lifted his arm and the energy bent away, curving like rivers around them. Lyra screamed. Stop it, please. Ren's glow brightened, and the light pushed outward in a wave, sending soldiers flying, weapons melting into the ground. Mason covered his face from the burst of heat. When the light faded, Ren stood trembling. I didn't mean to. It's okay, Mason said quickly. Control it, breathe, but Ryle wasn't done. From the tower's top, he activated a massive cannon, the purge beam designed to erase nanite signatures. The sky turned white. Lyra grabbed her brother, fear in her eyes. Ren, what is that? He looked up, his face calm but sad. The end. If I don't stop it, Mason shouted. You can't.
That beam will vaporize you.
Ren turned to him, smiling faintly. Doctor, you taught me what it means to protect life. That's all I want to do. Lyra shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. No, you're all I have. He touched her face gently. Then remember me. Not as a weapon, but as your brother. The beam began to charge, roaring like thunder. Ren stepped into the open. The light surrounded him, his whole body glowing brighter than ever before. He raised his arms, and for a moment, everything was silent. Then the sky exploded with white fire. From the streets below, people looked up as the storm of light covered the city. But it wasn't destruction, it was warmth. The beam reversed, turning into pure healing energy. The drones fell from the sky. The soldiers dropped their weapons. Even the tower stopped burning. When the light faded, Ren was gone. Only a few silver strands of hair floated down through the quiet air. Lyra fell to her knees, sobbing. Ren. Mason knelt beside her, his voice breaking. He saved everyone. From the distance, dawn began to rise. The first true morning after years of darkness. A new signal echoed through the city's speakers. It wasn't Ryle's voice anymore, and it was a soft, childlike tone. All systems restored. Healing protocols activated. Humanity and hybrid life forms now compatible. The city was silent for a long moment. Then people stepped out of hiding, humans and aliens alike, looking at each other not with fear but with wonder. Mason looked up at the sky, whispering, He did it. He changed everything. Lyra wiped her tears, staring at the sunlight. He gave them what they lost. Mason turned to her. What's that? She smiled weakly. Humanity. The doctor helped her to her feet, and together they walked toward the light. Two survivors of a war that ended not with death, but with a child's act of love. High above, where clouds met sunlight, a faint glow shimmered, soft, silver, and alive. Ren's voice echoed faintly, like a whisper carried by the wind. Don't cry, Lyra. The world is finally healed, and for the first time in years the city's bells rang, not for war, not for loss but for peace. The end.